So yesterday, wait, was it yesterday? Yeah, it was yesterday. Wait, was it yesterday? I've lost track of everything. It was yesterday. Sony decided to announce their PlayStation 5 Pro. And I want to start by saying I haven't been a PlayStation fan in years. I stopped being a PlayStation fan after the PlayStation 3, actually. Actually, I'm going to be honest, I stopped being a fan of the PlayStation after the PlayStation 2. I love the PS2, the PS1. Both had amazing libraries of games that I gave a damn about. There was a lot of exclusives going on in the PS1 and the PS2 era. PS3 comes along, you start to notice a change in trends and more. You start to notice what they are and aren't making anymore. You start to notice fewer and fewer exclusives. You start to notice, yeah, just a whole mess of things. The exclusives you did see were timed exclusives. Exclusives. That shit that started with that era with the PlayStation 3. It started in that generation, in that console generation, at least as far as I know. I might be wrong. Um, and it was one of the most annoying things ever. So I haven't been a PlayStation fan in years. The magic I felt for the PlayStation brand started with the one, continued with the two, and started to fizzle out with the three. After the PlayStation 3, I was like, I'm done. I'm done with the Sony consoles. I started getting more into PC gaming. I'm not a PC master race person. I'm not that. I know that it's frustrating for a lot of people who just want a game, right? You just want a game. You don't want to fiddle around with settings and whatnot. I get that. I get that. But for me, I'm pretty technically minded. I don't mind. So I moved away. And part of why I moved away had to do with pricing. The PS3 launched at $600. $600 fucking dollars. Let's talk about. I'm gonna zoom in here a bit. I'm gonna move in here a bit. They're gonna get a big picture of my big fat face. Um, so the PlayStation 3, you started to notice a fizzle for me, anyways, and my interest started to wane. I had a passion in the PlayStation 1 and 2 era, and I know this is a long video. This is gonna be long. I had a passion for it. I loved what they were doing. I loved a lot of the exclusives, and I love platformers. So we went from the Crash Bandicoot series on the PlayStation 1 to the Jack and Daxter series on the PlayStation 2. I loved that. I loved Jack and Daxter. I loved a lot of the games we were getting back in those days. And you saw a lot of creativity, not just out of the West, but you still saw a lot of games being developed in the East. You still saw a lot of Japanese creative things that I love personally. I love it personally. And you're not seeing that anymore. Not as far as I can tell. I'm not seeing what I want anymore. I started to slowly not see it anymore with the PlayStation 3. On top of that, not having exclusives, actual exclusives, exclusives that never end up anywhere else. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of my backstory of the PlayStation brand. The pricing going up and up and up, and looking at PC gaming going, if I'm going to pay that much, if I'm going to pay a lot of money, I want something I have some control over. I like mods and shit. I like just having something that's more than entertainment, that I can, search the news, do work, be creative, all of that stuff. I just want a PC. I moved on from that. So the other day when they had the announcement of the PlayStation 5 Pro, it was a huge slap in my face and a huge reminder of why I moved more towards PC gaming. Keep in mind, I still play Nintendo products. Nintendo at least knows how to. Nintendo's old fashioned. A lot of people bitch, piss, and moan because they want their Nintendo games on their PC and whatnot. If Nintendo would just stop that, so I can legally play their games on the platform of my choice on blah, blah, blah. There's a reason Nintendo does what they do. There is a method to their madness. All right. And keeping that old fashioned sort of thing, some of it's stupid, right? I get it. Nintendo is pretty. They're still in a bit of a bubble. They're not willing to make consensus on certain things, but some of it makes sense. Nintendo's exclusives are not going to end up on any other platform. You're not going to see Mario, Zelda. I mean, you saw that happen on iPhones, right? Or was it iPhones? Smartphones. We'll just say smartphones. We saw it happen on smartphones. But that was a little different. That was those games were not meant to be anything more than a glimpse into the Nintendo ecosystem. Those were meant to draw people in. They weren't necessarily meant to make a lot of money. It was meant to let people know, hey, this is what you're missing out on our hardware, right? And it was on the iPhone, wasn't it? It was on Android and iPhone, wasn't it? So yeah, that was just meant to be a lure, a hook and lure, just like, hey, come here, come in and buy stuff. So I still buy Nintendo because they still have exclusives. They still have their first party and second party games that you ain't gonna get nowhere else. You ain't getting anything anywhere else. You're gonna get, Bayonetta. You'll get Bayonetta 1 on other platforms, but Bayonetta 2 and 3 and anything else after that, because Nintendo has a stake in that IP. They pay for part of the production. So that IP is never gonna see on another hardware again. Um I buy Nintendo because, and I don't know if I'll keep buying Nintendo. This might fade off. I haven't bought a Zelda game in a long time, so I play primarily on PC and Nintendo products. That's primarily it. And if you want to call me a fanboy of anything, I guess Nintendo and PC elitist, whatever you want to call. I don't actually give a fuck. I don't actually care. So it was, yeah, it's a huge slap in my face when they sat there, and it was a huge reminder why I don't play on PlayStation anymore. It was a huge reminder of why I don't buy their hardware anymore. $700. $700 for a discless. There's no solid state, or not solid state media. There's no God, what do you call it? I'm trying to figure out the words here. I'm getting it all wrong. There's no media. There's no disk drive. There's nothing like that. There's nothing like that. It has no physical media. That's what I was trying to say. And so they want $700 for something that's completely digital. I don't give a damn what kind of hardware is in there. I don't care. You know, when it comes to computers, I talked about this with my friend Ty. I can buy out the parts and build up a new top of the line computer, slowly over time, get some use out of it and eventually upgrade the graphics card. Take my time. You can't do that with a console, and that's kind of my argument. Look at how much that costs. Yeah, I know PC is expensive, but you're not always necessarily paying it all at once. And there's plenty of games that you can play on Steam and whatnot on these other platforms. Plenty of stuff to play that you don't have to have top of the line hardware. And you can eventually get top of the line hardware. It's just, these are my excuses for not buying PlayStation. And I've never bought Xbox. And you might see Xbox games behind me at some point or another. You might have seen them. Those are my brothers. He's an Xbox. He's an Xbox fan. He likes Xbox and he likes his PC. He's kind of the other way. I'm Nintendo and PC. He's Xbox and PC. Neither of us are really PlayStation anymore. The only PlayStations I own is a PS2 and a PS3. And I do a lot of emulation on my PC. Sony has lost me on this. That pricing is insane. And if you think that's insane, the costing of it for other countries like Europe is even more fucking insane. It's even more fucking insane. All right? So, why are you doing this? It's funny when I want my information, the information's not there. Okay, here we go. All right. Here is the pricing for the PlayStation Pro. $700 for the US, the dollars. It's like 800, I think it's $800 in Canada. Canada ain't buying this shit. I know my friend Ty's in Canada. I can guarantee you he don't give a damn about this damn thing. Okay, and then it's 700 pounds. I think that's pounds. 700 pounds in the UK. In Europe, it's 800 pounds, and it is dead on arrival in Japan. It's dead on arrival. This thing is 119,980 yen. Holy, I think that's yen. Is that yen? Holy crap, that's still a lot. That's a lot. So No, we had Mr. Creepy coming out. Mr. Creepy. Oh yeah, let's bring up a picture of him. I love pictures of Mr. Creepy. Let's bring up Mr. Creepy. Let's bring up Mr. Creepy. Here's Mr. Creepy right here. Mr. Creepy himself right here. He came up and I guess he thought we gave a damn about this. I guess he thought this would go over well. No, Mr. No. No, just no. Fuck no. Mr. Creepy. He changed his hair color up recently and he tried not to make any weird faces, but you know, he ain't right. So this pricing alone is crazy. They showed a lot of things like the way it basically it's god uh the resampling technology, their DLSS. They don't call it DLSS. They don't call or whatever it's called. They don't call it that. It's something that Nvidia has, and I think AMD has their own version of it. But I think it's DLSS. I can't remember. Deep learning super sampling. It's their version of it for the PlayStation, and it's being used to um, upgrade the visuals. I guess you'd say it's meant to help with the resolution without actually making the resolution bigger. Um, we saw a look at all of this, and I personally am not impressed. I'm not impressed. And I feel like, and this is an argument I've made before, we are getting to a point where I don't feel like graphics matter so much anymore. Um, I don't feel like we need 4K visuals. I don't even believe in 4K. I still play at 1080p max. I don't need any higher than 1080p max. I don't need it. And a lot of the games that I'm playing, and you see this out of indie studios, not everything indie is super expressive and realistic. This is what they're trying to push towards though, is just this super high fidelity sort of visuals. But that's my thing. I don't think fidelity is where we need to go, and I get it. That's basically where the PlayStation 5 is trying to go. It's not fidelity necessarily. They're not trying to go for high fidelity. They're trying to go for high functionality where they are now. But the problem is that pricing is not going to work out. That pricing is too much. That's an insane price point. What they're thinking, I don't know. I don't. This didn't go over well when it came to the PlayStation 3. I don't see it going over well for the PlayStation 4, and this is way more than the PlayStation 3 was. And by I don't know. People will chime in and they'll talk about today's, in today's money, such and such would be such and such. Let's look. This is actually a bargain because the PlayStation 3, that was a different time in the economy and everything, and in today's money, that would be over $1,000. I don't give a damn. I don't think anybody gives a goddamn. All right? Consoles, the thing that they have over PC is number one, price. You're not supposed to be paying PC prices. Okay? And this is just cutting it. This is cutting it really fucking close. You're not paying PC prices, and you're able to just play games, just pop them in and play them. It used to be that way, anyways. We're losing that. That's the other thing. That's why it's hard to be a proponent of consoles. Is because hell, there's a lot of games that just have to be installed anyways nowadays. You're still doing all the PC like things, and it's not even the fun PC like things. It's not modding or anything like that. I'm not going in and modding games with whatever mods I want. I can go into Skyrim and put in a nudie mod. I'm just using that as a stupid example. I can make a nudie mod for games on the PlayStation. I mean, not on the PlayStation, but on my PC. But I can't do that for PlayStation. It's a stupid example, but it's an example. I have control over my computer. That's why and I'm not going to convince you to move to computer, but I'm telling you, they're kind of abandoning what made console gaming so great. The simplicity of it is kind of going away. And that sucks. You're getting the cost, you're cutting it close to the cost of PCs. And I don't know. See, let's look at the Steam Deck real quick. How much is a Steam Deck? way cheaper than this shit. Let's look at, you know what? No, just real quick. Let's look at the price of a Steam Deck. How much is a Steam Deck? Let's find out how much a goddamn Steam Deck is real quick. Let's look at the pricing. Let's look at the pricing. Let's look at this. Ah, okay, see? You're cutting it right at about $700 right here. Hell, 1 terabyte OLED, man. God damn it, you can either pay, fuck this shit. You can either pay, $6.99 for a console that you can't take everywhere on the go, or you can take your AAA PC experiences on the go. And I would argue that this, even though it's basically just a really small handheld PC that you play games on, it kind of takes the legwork out of a lot of things, you know. So it does have that simplicity. Get one of, or hell, get one of these, a $399 LCD 256 gigabyte one. You know, that'll do you some good. You can swap out the games you're playing, you know. And then let's go another one. Let's look at the current Switch. Let's look at the current Switch. Let's look at the pricing of these guys. If they're smart, they'll show the pricing. If they're smart, but this is Nintendo we're talking about. Are they going to show the pricing? Oh, they are. Ha ha ha. Shocking. Oh, the Switch Lite is $199.99. You can get a Switch Lite. You can get a regular Switch for wait. Oh wow, I didn't realize the current Switch was $299.99, and the Switch Lite is $349.99. Ooh, this makes me worried for the Switch successor, because if it's going up to like $400, I don't think I'm interested. I don't think I'm going to be interested. Wow, 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 wow. So we have these prices right here. You know, we have the Steam Deck prices, and then we have this shit. A stationary console was, I don't know. I think you're getting my point here. And I don't want to sit here and keep dragging it out. But this is getting ridiculous. It's getting absolutely ridiculous, and I can't see this doing well. In fact, I don't even think the PlayStation 4 Pro did all that well. I think it had only like a 13% sales rate in the US. It barely sold. All it did was convince people to get the regular one. People are going to keep getting the other because during the presentation they talked about the fidelity mode and the performance mode, or whatever they were called, and people were choosing performance over fidelity. Nobody gave a damn about the pretty graphics. They wanted the game to run well. So let's try and I've said this before. Let's back up a bit. When it comes to this kind of crap, you can't control the developers. The developers are going to sit there and try and harness every ounce of power they can out of this goddamn console. You can bet your bottom dollar they will. So even if the console releases with the intent of keeping games at 60 frames per second with a high fidelity mode, developers don't have to abide by that. They're going to sit there and try and harness every bit. It's the turtle and the tortoise and the hare. It's the turtle and the hare, you know. You release a device and it's more expensive and it's got this power. It's meant to do things, but then you have the developers harnessing as much as that as possible, still getting only 30 FPS, and then complaining and bitching that's not enough. Gamers are still unhappy. So then you go again. You make another piece of hardware. Tortoise and the hare. Eventually, it's got to give. Eventually, we are reaching the law of diminishing returns when it comes to these devices. I think Nintendo, if they play their cards right and they release just the right type of hardware, I could see their next console actually lasting 10 or more years. If they play their cards right, if they deal their hand correctly, and if the device has the oomph that it needs to have out of the gate, I could see it lasting 10 or more years. They wanted the current Switch to last 10 or more years. How'd that work out? They didn't have the luxury because the damn thing was already anemic when they released it. Like it or not, Nintendo, power matters. And if you don't release something capable enough, you're not going to get the experiences you want in there. Now, I'm not going to be one of those dipshits who sit there and say, the Switch was a success because of the third-party AAA games you could take on the go. You're not going to get that bullshit out of me. You're not going to get me saying that crap. I'm not going to talk about that crap. I'm not going to do that crap. You're not going to see that because I know better than that shit. The Nintendo Switch was popular and it was a success in spite of the AAA games. Those games came along later after it was clear the Switch was going to be a big success. It didn't help the success. It just added to it. It gave people some more to play. Developers sat there and went, "Wow, it's doing pretty good sales wise. Let's give it some AAA games." Oh, oh, there it is. And that's all it was. And I know there were other people on this goddamn platform, Review Tech USA, who will sit there and he will go, it was the AAA, third party in the AAA games you could take on the go. He says this over and over again. That's not why. The Switch was a success in spite of those games, not because of those games. Those games didn't do anything for its success. It was already successful. It was already clear it was going to be successful. Okay, and that's what happened. That's what happened. This has been the Goof. PlayStation 5 Pro, not going to be a big success. I feel like hardware is getting too expensive, getting too big for its britches. I can't convince anybody to be a PC gamer, and it's fine. You don't have to be. But I just wanted to explain why I moved on from those games, or those consoles, why I moved on, and why I play mostly on PC. As far as AAA goes, I don't really play AAA on PC. Hell, I hardly play AAA. And a lot of people are starting to realize that all the pretty graphics and all the realism in the world doesn't mean shit if the game is boring as fuck. This is the Goof signing off. Have a good one, and I'm out. Jesus.